Thank you, Dr. Fisher, and thank you to the APSA leadership for endorsing this program. Let's see if I can make it move. Oh, where's the... Okay. So the APSA M.O.R.E program is an internal leadership program developed after over 20 years of discussion at the APSA Board of Governors level. It was initially convened about 2 years ago as a leadership task force, and the recognition was that many leadership courses were not accessible to pediatric surgeons. And so the goal of this was to meet the needs of individual APSA members for basic leadership training, and then to recognize the downstream impact for the specialty in general. The cohort creation criteria that we wanted to aim to support were folks who had been in practice for at least 3 years. We wanted this to be a personalized experience, so a maximum of 24 participants. The participants would be self-nominated, but would require the support of their supervisor, as there is a time commitment associated with this. We wanted to exclude advanced leadership training or experience such as division chiefs or department chairs. And the idea is if there were more than 24 participants, there would be a random selection. We enlisted volunteer faculty who were pediatric surgeons and created cohort subgroups, and then also enlisted the help of group leaders for these smaller cohort subgroups. So listed here are the leadership task force. The steering committee included myself, Ken Gao, Tom Tracy, and Dave Powell. The small group leaders, great thanks to them, Charlie Stoller, Ron Herschel, and Romeo Ignacio. And the administrative support supplied by APSA, Jen James, and Marina Petrula. Thank you very much for all of this. This is our curriculum, which ran over a 9-month time period, and you can see there are varied topics such as emotional intelligence, strategic planning, networking, negotiation, and Dr. Gao and I put our heads together and said, who do we know in our community who can lead topic discussions on these areas? And you see a whole list of pediatric surgeons who are experts, and there are more. If you want to volunteer for one of these topics in the future, please reach out and let me know. But great presentations, uniformly well received, and a lot of good feedback on both sides, both the presenters and the audience. So listed here is our inaugural cohort participants. Great thanks to everyone who volunteered to participate, as there were a lot of kinks that were worked out over this initial year, but I think it's been a positive educational experience for everyone. So we wanted to create some deliverables for the participants and asked that they do small group projects, which would either have an impact on APSA itself or pediatric surgery as a whole. And so that is what you are about to hear, is what these projects were and how they can be carried forward. I think that most of those presenting are welcoming additional participants, and so if you have a passion about what they're going to present about, please reach out afterwards. So with that, Dr. Mustafa. And Dr. Piper, sorry, I didn't realize you were both up here. Thanks.
Where's the, that's the advance.
Okay.
What's your title of your talk?
Oh,
so they can pull it up.
It's
Just tell them which one that you need.
it's going to be one of these.
Can't see. Can we move this? Oh, that's it.
There we go. Okay. Awesome.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to present our proposal, which is the development of a video library to improve surgeon readiness for rare procedures. The Just-in-Time Educational Video Collective. Pediatric surgery is often considered the last bastion of general surgery, in that pediatric surgeons perform a wide variety of different procedures. And while some of these procedures are performed frequently, others are relatively rare, leading to infrequent exposure to certain index cases. Previous data has demonstrated that there is a volume-outcome relationship in surgery, but it's not always possible for pediatric surgeons to increase volume due to the low incidence of specific diseases and anomalies. Fortunately, specific interventions can reduce the impact of the volume outcome challenge, such as refresher videos. However, there are currently limited pediatric surgery-specific audiovisual libraries to assist in refreshing the pediatric surgeon's knowledge of the key steps and pitfalls of rare procedures. It is with this issue in mind that the Just-in-Time project was proposed. Just in Time is a planned collection of 10-minute videos created by pediatric surgeons for pediatric surgeons to refresh the key steps and important anatomy of rare procedures, thus improving outcomes despite the low frequency of certain surgeries. This project will involve identifying experts to record videos of procedures, and this can include both open as well as minimally invasive approaches. Once identified, we will ship each of these experts the necessary video equipment, or if the case is being done laparoscopically or robotically, we'll instruct them on how to record the procedure using their current system. Once recorded, we will assist in editing these videos with a professional editing team, down to a roughly 10-minute summary of the procedure, including the pertinent steps as well as tips and tricks for successful completion.
So we propose to incorporate these instructional videos as a subsection of the NAT library. We'll include a comment section where these videos will allow viewers to comment on how they would do the procedure differently or other tips and tricks that they can consider. We are proposing a total of 20 videos to be made part of our initial involvement in this project, and we hope to transition this project to another group of APSA, most likely within a committee, to ensure its longevity and success. And we put together a list of 25 procedures that we would choose from, and we'll work on the video production in an order that's based on need as well as availability of experts. We have here a rough outline of our 2-year timeline. We factor in the time needed to select the video topics and identify experts for the procedures. And those are open procedures that would then require distribution of the recording equipment to those identified surgeons. And once we have the raw video, we then begin the editing and review process to ensure that it meets our goals. We then aim to publish the videos for member use and obtain feedback that we would then implement in the subsequent videos that are produced. Considering our long-term goals, we aim to collaborate with both the education and technology committees and then repeat the process for the remaining videos. This is a list of the 25 procedures we've earmarked for potential videos for the inaugural video library. These include infrequent but very important procedures such as the Kasai-Porter neurostomy, Fokker procedure for long gap esophageal atresia, and laparoscopic choledochal cyst resection. While we don't expect to make all of these videos now, we do expect to ensure the long-term continuity of the library, as discussed earlier, by including the APSA committees in governance and ongoing maintenance.
In order to complete this project, we identified 2 potential funding sources for which we've already applied for funding. The first is the APSA Foundation Education Grant, which is a grant of up to $15,000 for an educational project. We recently applied for the 2025 cycle. And we've also been in discussion with an industry sponsor who's interested in funding this project as well, and we've submitted to them a formal proposal and budget and are awaiting their response. We've identified 2 major issues that may limit the success of this project. The first is the actual editing of the videos. We've sought funds to assist in the hiring of editorial teams in order to help with the production of these videos, but we will plan to have a member of our team involved directly with the editors to ensure the product comes out as expected. And second of all, we want to make sure that the library survives in the long term. There's a whole host of projects that were well-intentioned, but did not survive as their long-term care was not planned for. As discussed previously, we'd like to partner with one of the APSA committees in order to hand over the project to them after the difficult work of creating the initial cache of videos is complete. We would expect the committee to be in charge of the minimal work of adding a video or 2 a year if needed to keep the library up to date. So in conclusion, pediatric surgeons are often looking for a quick, surgeon-focused refresher prior to procedures that they don't do on a regular basis. While there are numerous textbooks, those are frequently outdated, and no amount of words can adequately describe exactly how to do a procedure. We are therefore proposing the Just-in-Time Education Initiative in order to create a video library of procedures by pediatric surgeons for pediatric surgeons to fill this gap. We've already sought out funding, and we hope that we have your approval to continue our work. Thank you.
So we have a few minutes if there are questions from the audience about this or ideas. Dr. Santori.
Thanks very much. There is an app, Stay Current, which many people probably know about, that have a lot of videos, and they're pretty good quality. Any thought of combining forces and making it in one platform?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. We've talked about that a decent amount, about working with Todd Ponsky and trying to see if we can either use some of his videos already so we don't have to recreate them, or even discuss using that as our housing platform. You know, a lot of those videos are a bit more broadly focused, not very specific to the procedure with the exact spots of tips and tricks that are perfect for the actual operating surgeon. So this time we do feel like our product is different, but we'll probably reach out and discuss at least some way of not recreating the wheel. Yeah, thank you.
I'll just add to that as well that incorporating it into NAT is going to be helpful for the members, so they can, once they read whatever chapter they're reading, they can then click on these videos and see that. So it's easily accessible and available to all those members.
I had a more practical question about, in your discussions with NAT, I know one of the challenges with these videos is that they take up so much space. And have you run into challenges, or was that part of your decision-making when you decided to make them 10 minutes? How have you negotiated with NAT on storage of your videos?
So with regards to storage, this is where some of the funding is going to come into play and help us with that, as well as the editing as well, the cost of that. The goal of the 10 minutes, or make it brief, is really so that it is exactly as it's known as, the just-in-time. So you can watch them just in time, so you can refresh for a case. Long-term, perhaps we can have longer videos that include the entire procedure, as well as maybe panel discussions or something like that. But the specific goal of this project is to have them short so that they're easily accessible in the time that you need them.
Hi, this is a question from the virtual chat, and they asked if you've talked with any members of IPEG. There's many procedural videos in the State Current app under IPEG as well.
Yeah, we haven't yet, but I think there are videos out there, you know, as part of textbooks and IPEG and through the State Current that we're hoping to incorporate if possible, again, so that we're not replicating work, but rather keep them in one accessible source so that you know exactly where they are when you need them.
Hi, Alicia Sykes from Johns Hopkins All Children's. I'm the first-year fellow. Just wondering how you are planning to identify the experts in the field for each specific operation, and then knowing that those specific surgeons may have different immediate postoperative care or preoperative preparation, kind of how you're thinking of maybe incorporating that into the video as well.
Yeah. Our committee will highlight and reach out to the people that we have just kind of picked out as being experts in the field. But you bring up an excellent point we forgot to mention as part of it, but we're going to include a comment section in each of the videos, because we expect, obviously, that everyone else has different tips and tricks that they do, or maybe a different method, and we want to have a way for people to actually, you know, discuss those. So there will be comment sections on the videos in order to kind of share those ideas.
Great, thank you, everyone. And now I'd like to invite Dr. Badr Shakshir and Sabina Siddiqui for our next presentation. Oh, sorry, and Andrew Ye. I wasn't sure who was going to be here and who wasn't. They'll be discussing pediatric ECMO ethics and the pediatric surgeon.
And then clicker is this?
Yep, and the
Green button? All right. All right, excellent. Good morning. On behalf of the APSA M.O.R.E cohort, I'd like to thank the programming committee and Dr. Downer and Dr. Gao for the privilege of the podium and to present one of the projects that we came up with as part of this cohort. Out of the cohort, the project represents the efforts of the folks listed here, spearheaded by Dr. Shakshir and his expertise, both in the realm of ethics as well as ECMO. Our presentation today has already had the input of others not listed here, including representatives from the ethics and the critical care committees at APSA. Before we get deep into the project, it's really important as a critical care person for me to note that what this project is not. So using the neti-neti principle, I think it's important to note that we're not providing a list of indications or contraindications to ECMO. We're not trying to prescribe or conscript the membership into a management style or technique or paradigm. It's really important to recognize that there is practice variation in each of our practices. In the context of where we work, there are limitations and resources and how we choose to practice. And the goal of this project is not to delve into any of those spaces.
Right, so into the milieu that Dr. Siddiqui described, namely high stakes, high risk patients, various practice patterns, multiple stakeholders, and differences of opinion as to how these patients should be treated, we list our aims. So one is to clarify the role of the pediatric surgeon within the multidisciplinary group of healthcare professionals managing pediatric patients on ECLS. And the second is to provide ethical guidance regarding the implementation and management of pediatric patients evaluated for ECLS technology. So this is how we plan to go about it. We've already started by turning inwards, so we want to talk to pediatric surgeons. So we've started with the ethics committee and the critical care committee. And as Dr. Downard mentioned, there are others that have passion about this. We'd like to include you as well. And once we have internal, maybe not consensus, but forward movement as to what this should look like, we want to involve our other stakeholders as well, the obvious ones being cardiac surgeons, pediatric critical care physicians from the PICU and NICU, and perfusionists. So what are our goals? Our goals are for our group and APSA as an entity to reiterate the resources necessary for a pediatric ECLS program, to provide support for those who may be under-resourced but being asked to provide this care, to reinforce the benefits of multidisciplinary care, and to recommend that pediatric surgeons be involved in discussions regarding candidacy early in patient evaluation, not just for technical factors, and in discussions regarding management. As you all know, the practice of ECMO throughout this room varies from we own the ECMO process, we do everything, we take care of the patient from a pump and a critical care point of view to more of a technician role and less of a management role. And we don't want to tell people how to do it, but for those who have an interest and for those who may be asked to do things without providing their input, we want to be supportive of those people. We want to express the benefit and continuity that can be provided by the pediatric surgery team. Generally speaking, pediatric surgeons are outnumbered by critical care physicians at most institutions. And so those smaller teams can help to avoid diagnostic and therapeutic drift and also maintain proficiency. We want to discuss the role for conflict and its management. First and foremost would be prevention by maximizing communication with honest and direct communication and adequate planning for foreseeable ECLS issues. And we want to advocate for regular team building and improvement. And then I think we want to discuss the moral burden for evaluating the patient as not a candidate for ECLS and the team dynamics for this. An example of this would be the consult to say, we don't think this patient is a candidate, can you please sign off on that?
Examples of situations we think that this project can help clarify the role and provide support for our pediatric surgeons is, for example, planning for decannulation at the time of cannulation, particularly in patients that are quote-unquote long shot situations, patients where we're planning to do a time-limited trial, or in situations where the definitive treatment for the patient is not clearly known or is subsequently deemed to be not a candidate for definitive therapy. Ultimately, our goal in this project is to publish a statement for pediatric surgeons by pediatric surgeons, clarifying and reiterating our important role in taking care of patients that are on ECMO and providing broad guidance for ethical situations that may arise in patients that may require ECMO. And lastly, once we've published this statement, engaging a multidisciplinary group, clarifying everybody's role, their importance in taking care of ECMO, and also defining the different ethical situations that can arise and how to navigate them. And with that, we'd be happy to take any questions.
So again, the floor is open for comment. I would start with, at the recent Keystone ECMO meeting, the session on ethics in situations such as this was scheduled for 2 hours and I think went to almost 3 with our multidisciplinary colleagues. And so I think that this is a major need. Dr. Vogel?
I just really want to congratulate this group for taking on this project. I think that this is an incredibly challenging scenario that many of us face, if not on a daily, weekly, certainly monthly basis for all in the room, and particularly with an emphasis on the moral distress that pediatric surgeons can encounter when they're asked to do things that they're really not comfortable with or don't think that should be done, or even the vice versa scenario. And it's really an incredible effort, and I think the work product is going to be spectacular. And I feel that getting this out there really in that multidisciplinary phase and inviting the neonatologists and the pediatric intensivists into this forum is going to be incredibly important. And I think that this is really a great opportunity that we have to change how we do things in these critical care environments. And so I thank you very much for taking this on.
I'll just say thank you for your partnership and the Critical Care Committee between you and Julie M. Partridge, who's with us. It's really a great way to start, and hopefully we can recruit others who are passionate about this and moving things in the right direction.
Other comments? Great.